All right.
Sam, dare I say the last time I saw you was the Raptors game?
It's kind of
Like,
sad, kind of sad, right? A fun night.
was
We had a
it?
fun night. Fun night.
That
Sad that we
was an
lost the night
incredible.
here.
Everything going well?
Yeah, life has been great, and ironically, we're one of the few industries that have still flourished during the pandemic. So we're very blessed and fortunate about that.
Cool. So I got to ask you, okay, because I mean, like you say that the real estate industry has flourished. Why has it flourished while other industries have been hurting?
When it first happened mid-March, we were concerned. We thought we were in for a long haul where our market would probably suffer for an indefinite period. And for about 4 to 6 weeks, it was just an uncertain period for everybody, buyers and sellers alike.
Hey Sam, I lost you there.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, so by May, the market started picking up, and we were really surprised because my message to the team the first few weeks in, March and April was, listen, guys, be fiscally responsible. We might be in for a long haul. We're here to help each other out, and we'll weather the storm. But by May, things started picking up, and it was really so we didn't expect it. And I think you could say rates were a bit of a catalyst. I mean, we have the lowest rates we've ever seen in 30, 40 years. We've got sub 2% 5-year money, which is definitely helping us. And I think the big message the first few months after COVID was while sales were, down tremendously, the prices were maintained. So when people understood prices weren't going anywhere, then they said, well, it's probably a good chance to get in. Rates are good, and maybe they're not going to have to compete like we did earlier in the year. And all of a sudden, you saw the market really pick up ahead of steam, which was a surprise of all of us. Pleasant surprise.
Now, what has changed in the real estate industry kind of permanently because of the pandemic? Because there's a lot of things like open houses, face-to-faces that have to change, obviously, because of the pandemic.
Yeah, I think real estate and all other industries now have a chance to reevaluate how you move forward, because I think in many instances, people just did what they knew and they didn't really look at efficiencies. And in our world, we realized, you know what, you don't always have to have a face-to-face meeting. You can do a Zoom meeting. You can do, you can be more effective and sometimes more productive in terms of being efficient. So, open houses, truthfully, open houses were never all the be-all, end-all, because, I mean, people oftentimes at open houses just trying to get clients from a realtor perspective. I mean, of course, if a property sold by way of an open house, that was great, but statistically speaking, 1 or 2% sold by open houses. But, it forced us to up our game in terms of the visual experience, because people now, it was quality over quantity. They might look at 2 or 3 houses. They don't look at 10. They're really going to be discerning. And if you didn't have a good visual experience, you weren't going to be in front of that list. So we invested in new technology to make sure we had a really good presence online. We did before, but we had to up our game, which I think was really important. Of course, we're going to continue with that as well, too.
Cool. So the question that I've been asked to ask you the most. So what's hot right now in regards to real estate? Is it houses? Is it condos? Is it luxury houses? Is it small condos? Is it big condos? What do you guys see?
Well, I mean, what's not hot for sure is the condo market in Toronto. I mean, that's the market definitely suffered, right? And that's probably one of the few areas where we've seen maybe a slowdown, where things aren't what they used to be. And, we had properties we put on the market a few months ago where historically, we underpriced it. We would have had maybe 50, 100 showings during the course of the week. We set it up for delayed offers. We were supposed to look at offers hypothetically on a Sunday. And I think on a Saturday, I was going through those showings. I said, this can't be right. We've had no showings. So we underpriced it. We had no showings. So, and that was, kind of a sign of the times for the condo market, because I think people said, we want green space. We don't want to be in the city when really nothing is open right now. One of the draws being in the city is that you can walk to the restaurants, Well, that's not really available. You have a kid, you're in 500 square feet, you're kind of getting suffocated. So I think a lot of people started migrating out. So we've seen, housing market, regardless of price point. Of course, the really luxury luxury homes take a little longer, but we've seen that market thrive, and we've seen the condo market, especially in Toronto, maybe not so much in Mississauga, it's taken a hit for sure. And the rental market in Toronto as well, where historically you had really low vacancies, that's changed dramatically too. So the condo market suffered, the rest of the market's flourished.
Now, are you talking about the housing market? How much has the housing market gone up or since 2019?
Yeah, it's a good question, because a lot of the numbers they're looking at, they're saying the average prices have gone up, and they're talking about 10, 15, 20% in some instances. But really, you have to do an apple for apple comparison. So if you're grouping into all that condos, and there's less condos selling, more houses, of course, your average price will go up. So you have to look at really mean prices for each area. So it definitely has gone up, I'd say 5 to 10%, which is still healthy and sustainable. If you start seeing 20, 30% growth, you know at some point there's going to be a correction.
No, no, Sam. In regards to you said you said about 10% growth. What was the growth like from 18 to 19 in comparison?
You know, maybe a little less, 5 to 7%. So we've probably seen surprisingly a greater growth in the market this year than last year, despite the pandemic.
So you guys have been doing well. Okay.
Yeah,
There's one district.
Yeah.
So I put out a video. I think you guys reposted it. I'm going to get to Instagram viewer questions. We had quite a few, actually. Some of these you've already answered. How are condo and apartment prices and condo townhouses prices trending, looking like, I guess, in 21?
Well, I think here's the thing. So most people, you know, they have the herd mentality where they don't want to buy when nobody wants to buy, right? But you know that condo market's going to come back, right? I mean, this is a short-term phenomenon. So why do you want to wait for that market to flourish? Why not get in now? So when people don't want it, really, that's the time you're going to make money. So I think the condo market will still be soft for another 3 to 6 months, maybe even longer. But if your goal is to eventually get into Toronto and buy a condo, this is probably the opportune time to do it, because at some point that market's going to rebound, right? And you're going to start seeing prices appreciate where they should have been. So I think if people have the courage to do what others can or won't, they're gonna do well, right? So the townhouse market's a different discussion. You still have some green space. That market's still performing well. I think in the condo markets where we've seen the biggest kind of shift, the wrong direction.
Okay. Another viewer says, where do you recommend buying for people with small budgets in the GTA?
Small budgets. You know, it's interesting because in 2017, when the market was really strong, you know, people had to make a decision. Do they go up and buy a condo, or do they go out? And so that's where you start seeing the outskirts really flourish. You know, Hamilton market started really picking up, Ancaster, you know, so depending on where you were, that because everything was so unaffordable here, people started pushing out. So I think if you're not adverse to a commute, and by the way, one of the discussions today is that reality is businesses will also have to rethink how they run their affairs now. They may not need as much space. People working from home might become a trend for 2-3 days a week. So maybe migrating further out might be a viable option. Before, if you have to travel to work every day, it didn't make that much sense. So you know, I think the market on the outskirts, there's still some growth potential. But listen, I think there's, you know, the key things, if you find a motivated seller, you're still going to do well. So if somebody's really keen on selling, they're going to cut a deal with you. If they're just testing the waters, you know, then they don't really care if they sell at their price. It might be higher than market. Great. If not, we're just going to keep the property. So I think motivation is a big factor. But I think going in the outskirts, if you don't want to go up towards closer to the sky, then that makes sense as well, too.
Another question we have, will prices keep going up in 2021 amidst the pandemic? And then this one's an interesting one. This is just same question. Will having a vaccine help? I'm not sure how that would help, but I mean.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think, in my opinion, we've seen our market being very resilient. So 2008-9, when they talked about the Great Depression, we lasted, you know, 6 months later, we were out of it. And ourselves in Australia were probably the only countries that actually took a short duration before we were back up and running. In 2017, this 15% non-resident tax got introduced. It took us back for a little bit because they saw what happened in Vancouver, so they just weren't sure what was going to translate to here. Our market flourished pretty quickly. Then they had the stress test, January of 2018. We bounced back. So we're very resilient here. I mean, our market always bounces back in a short duration. So I think 2021, with rates as low as they are, and I think people are more adjusted to the pandemic, even if there's a wave 2, which we're in now, and a wave 3, which probably will happen, I think people are more comfortable with it. So I think real estate, once again, we're blessed and fortunate. We'll still probably see price appreciation of, it's hard to say, but let's say 5 to 10%. I don't think you'll see decline in pricing.
Okay. I guess you hear a lot about, you know, everybody working from home. So this is a question, is commercial property value gone down because of COVID-19?
In some instances, yes. I think there's opportunities in the commercial sector, and I think that'll continue to be the case as businesses reevaluate how they want to move forward. So I think if you're looking to buy commercial space, do it when nobody else wants it, which is kind of now, right? So it's a great time to buy.
And this is kind of a question I'm sure you get a lot. What are the main areas of the house we should update to sell?
Number one, kitchens, master bathrooms. So kitchens and bathrooms are always great ROIs, right? So you're going to do really well with that. You don't want to spend too much money on landscape. You decide you want to put a pool in, I think it should be done because you're going to get a 10 or 15 year amortization out of that pool. But if you're doing it to sell, pools are basically a break-even proposition. So you can spend $100,000, you sell it, you're not going to get any more money. So I think, you know, if you talk to your realtor, they'll give you good counsel. But kitchens, bathrooms, inexpensive things like just a coat of paint now with the trending colors make a big difference visually. So I think that's important as well too.
Okay. And I guess the question, what do you see happening in 2021 in the real estate world?
We're really bullish. Like, we're excited. I mean, ironically, 2020 was our best year in real estate. I mean, that's just 30 years. And, we expected us to have some hiccups with COVID, and we were ready for that. And we've always braced ourselves for times if they got difficult, we were positioned for that. But, this year was exceptionally strong, and I think we'll continue to see that trend. I mean, we had a deferral of our spring market, so that really took place in the summer. And our fall market was much stronger than typical falls. And, now it's Christmas, so things will slow a touch. But I think you'll see us get out of the gates in 2021 with pretty strong flurry as well.
Cool. And another question, how many billboards do you have?
Oh, my goodness. I think bus shelters, billboards, maybe a few hundred. I'm not sure exact count.
You say a few hundred? Did you say a few hundred?
Yeah, maybe a couple hundred. So we've got a few, right? So, yeah, it's kind of, it's interesting because I think when we first started doing billboards, I always was against it. And I mean, for some reason, I just decided let's put a few up there to kind of create some brand recognition. And then I became, pretty bullish on it and just started expanding on that. And yeah, so here we are today.
Right, that's awesome. So I should have started with this, but I'm like, how you doing overall? How's everything going? Like, personally,
life is good. Yeah, we can't complain. I mean, I know we talked about working out, and I think during COVID, I thought, let's take an advantage of this. And so I started, working out 6 days a week with my trainer, and then doing yoga every day, and then massage. So it's been good. I mean, I've really honed in on my health in the morning, and then after that, it's all work. But I think I've continued with that, and it was kind of interesting how you could achieve a work balance with, your life and still do well. And that was nice to see because, many years it was just like 24/7 work. But we're also trying to balance it as well.
That's awesome. So anything else you want to add, Sam?
No, listen, I think anybody thinking of transacting, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. So, Cal, I think anybody thinking of transacting 2021, if you're in a position where you have good job security, whatever that looks like, I think it's a great time to buy because prices historically double every 10 years. And that's always been the trend for us. So right now, there's some sellers who want to transact. They're nervous about maybe what the future will look like with COVID. You've got super low rates. And I think you can't go wrong. Today, you can probably buy, depending what kind of property you're buying, it's not going to be much different than rent. Rental values have gone up a lot. So why not get in the game, double down every 10 years, your prices will go up. We always used to draw an analogy. You buy a property for $500,000, not that that exists too easily today, but in 10 years, you paid it off. So now your property is worth zero. You have zero mortgage. But if you did all the right things and the right measures, you could actually pay off your mortgage in 8 to 10, 12 years. So you've got an asset that doubled from 500 to $1 million and paid off in 10 years. So you become a millionaire on maybe a nominal $25,000 investment. So really, it's the best long-term wealth creation vehicle, and people really should take advantage of that. You can't pick tops or bottoms in the market. It's really hard to do that. But if you can get in the game now, and watch it in 10 years, you'll only be grateful you got into real estate. And our economy, our industry here is not one industry based. So you go to Calgary, if oil's doing well, then of course the market's going to do well in the real estate sector. But if it's not, it really tanks. But here, it doesn't matter. We're so diverse that we're always flourishing. And we're a great city to invest. I think it's a world-class city. We've all recognized that. And I think the world's recognizing that, and our prices are appreciating, but we still have a way to go to catch up to other world-class cities.
True. And last question I'll ask is, how disappointed are you that the Raptors season is in Tampa Bay?
Yeah, heartbroken for sure. Listen, Raptors was so much fun for me. And it was interesting because the first year I actually was a courtsider and I sat beside my friend Nav. And he said, Sammy, I've been here 25 years. I mean, I've seen the highs and lows. You come around first year and we win the championship. But it was such a great journey, and I was happy to be there with you in the game. And it's just so much. I mean, honestly, we get spoiled when you're courtside. It's just such a fun experience, and the energy and the enthusiasm. And when you're winning, it's just really fun. So, yeah, it's disappointing, and I'm sure next year we'll be back, and it'll be fun to, watch the Raptors again. And I think, it's unfortunate the Greek Freak got, he renewed his contract. But, they've got great management, great people. I've gotten a lot of the big brass with the organization, and they're only going to do good things. So we're excited for what they're going to have, but I'll be watching on TV for sure.
Awesome. Sam, thanks so much for your time. We need to chat again soon.
Anytime. It's a pleasure. Keep up the great work. Love what you're doing.
Oh, thanks, Sam. All right. Take care.
Take care, guys. Thank
Later.
you. Bye.
Bye.